Hi, good morning, and welcome to our midweek Tuesday hangout on air with our awesome big kahuna Matt Atchity from RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to be talking about the new TV fall lineup. A lot of shows are premiering, debuting this week, and we're going to talk about a bunch of them, some good ones, or a couple of good ones, and then a couple of not so good ones.
Right.
So joining us in the hangout right now are some of our TV experts like Diano, who's hanging out with us from Reno, who does a hangout of his own, actually, on Geeks of the Round. Hector, also in with the TV shows, and Nick. If you want to join us, make sure you subscribe to our channel, send me a comment or put a comment below, and let me know if you'd like to be invited to one of our hangouts here very soon. Okay? In the meantime, let's start. Okay, one of the freshest shows this week is Grace Point.
Grace Point, yes. This is a murder mystery about two detectives in a small coastal town, and there's
Like Northern
California, Anna Gunn and David Tennant, and a boy has disappeared, and they think murdered, and everyone's a suspect. Great supporting cast here: Mike Pena and Jackie Weaver and Nick Nolte. This is based on a British show called Broadchurch that David Tennant was also in.
Does he play the same character then that he?
It's the same type of character. I mean, basically same guy,
character.
Different name.
Yeah.
But basically, I mean, it's
same
not
guy.
Right.
It's not like playing
Well,
someone else.
Yes. Now, to be clear, it's not this detective has bounced over to another small town where there's another murder.
No.
Right. It's not like a continuous thing, but it's basically the same character.
Right.
It's created by a guy named Chris Chibnall, who created Broadchurch, the original show. And he's worked on Doctor Who and Torchwood and Law and Order UK. Critics like this one 75%. They say it's gripping and dramatic.
Nick Nolte's in it too.
Yeah, and it should keep people interested for the 10 or 12 episodes it's on.
By the way, Anna Gunn, I was interested to see what she would, where she would land after Breaking Bad. She played Walter's wife,
right?
In Breaking Bad. So this is her first series again, right?
Yep.
After her Emmy? Did she win another Emmy recently? So Anna Gunn in Grace Point. So that one's worth checking out. That's on Fox.
That's on Fox.
Thursdays on Fox.
Starts on it premieres on Thursday night.
Okay, so Manhattan Love Story. This one not so good. Kind of got a rotten 28%.
Yeah, this one is two sides of the same couple. You hear their internal monologues as they start dating. The critics say that this has kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
The writing's kind of cliched, and we've seen this done more interestingly in other places. So
this next one I actually kind of like. This is a show called Selfie. I'm a huge proponent of having more diversity in our network shows. You know that. And I mean like diversity, not just black and white. I'm talking about
everybody.
Right. And I'm talking about it in the characters, not the stereotypes. So I love that John Cho is in the show called Selfie, and
playing a guy named Henry Higginbotham.
You haven't seen it yet, but I'm wondering if they address that somehow, because he does not look like a Higginbotham.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wait, you haven't seen Selfie yet?
No.
It's on tonight.
It's on tonight.
It's been on Hulu Plus for like a good couple of weeks.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet. I hear it's all right. The critics are split on this one. This is one where the critics say that it's the narcissism around the social media gets to be a little obnoxious, but the leads have really good chemistry. Karen Gillan is great, and she's good. For those people that watch Doctor Who, she's good at being a character who can be kind of obnoxious and you still want to watch her. So I think she's well cast here. John Cho is great. John Cho is great in everything he does.
Everything he does. I love John Cho.
There's not enough John Cho.
Exactly.
So this is great. I think this will be fun.
Awesome. Well,
it's like the show is kind of funny. It's like I think people are going to get a kick out of it.
And it's very timely and topical.
Yeah, and this is another thing that what will probably happen with this show. A lot of network shows take a while to really find their feet. You go back to, stuff as recent as The Office and Parks and Recreation. Those shows have really rabid fan bases, but it took 2 or 3 seasons before they really get really good. I mean, Seinfeld's like that. Cheers is like
They
that.
were
Cheers
going
is
to
not a
cancel
huge.
Seinfeld
Yeah.
right away,
Right.
you know. But
So it takes a little while, and I think that this is a show that it may take the first season of them to kind of, the writers have to learn what works best for the characters. I think that we could entirely end up with something that they kind of abandon the gimmick by the second season.
Yeah.
Depending on how the writing goes.
I hope that they give it a chance to breathe and
Yeah.
flesh out. Okay, so the next show is called
Stalker, which the
which
critics really don't like.
airs on CBS. It premieres tomorrow night on CBS. It got a 12%. That is not good.
Yeah, that's not
I mean,
good.
that's like not even questionable.
Right.
It's like bad.
Right. This is one. It's the threat
Dylan
assessment unit of the
Yeah.
LAPD. They study stalking behavior. It's Dylan McDermott, Maggie Q,
Love
Elizabeth
her.
Rome.
So cute. Yeah.
And created by Kevin Williamson, who gave us Dawson's Creek and Vampire Diaries. This one is, the critics don't like this one, and they say it's really mean-spirited and really ugly without, it can't execute on the shock value of something like Dexter that it wants to do because it's on CBS.
It's on network television.
Yeah.
It's on CBS.
It's like, I mean, yeah, the reviews have been pretty harsh. I think someone called it something like exploitive, misogynistic trash.
Oh, speaking of misogyny.
Not really a glowing recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it feels and kind of looks like a nastier version of something like Law and Order SVU.
Oh.
It's like if Law and Order SVU was just exploiting the shock value of the stories they cover, that's kind of what you'd get.
And this one's more limited too. I think I feel like it's limiting because it's just stalkers.
Right.
It's not a wide range of crimes necessarily. So yeah, they've got an uphill battle with Stalker. But I love Maggie Q too. I love all these guys. I mean,
yeah, Elizabeth Rome is great.
Fantastic.
You've had her into the hangout.
Yeah, we have. She's great. Okay, so we have A to Z, which it's not bad, 53%. It's kind of a split in terms of critics. This is premiering on Thursday on ABC. A to Z stars Ben Feldman and Kristen Milioti. Is that how you say it? Milioti.
Yeah.
This
is another one. The critics say, it's got a bit of a shtick, like Selfie, right? Like, there's a lot of sitcoms, I think, that as they're trying to differentiate themselves, they've got a gimmick. And the gimmick on this one is every episode starts with a letter of the alphabet. So it's, I mean, that's every episode ever, right? But this is A for acquaintances, and B is for Big Glory. They go through the list of, they go through the alphabet. The critics say that gimmick aside, it's kind of a, it gets a little heavy-handed on the gimmickry, but the leads have enough chemistry that this is another one that if they get past the gimmick and they start really paying attention to the characters, they might have a good show here.
Why start every episode with a letter in the alphabet? Like, is there a direct correlation to their characters? Why? Or is it just...
I think it's the gimmick to get the show made. Right, it's like with Selfie, it's
But at least Selfie, it pertains to sort of the narcissism surrounding that.
But I'll tell you, like with
that character.
But with the business of it, you think about a network executive is getting hit with pitches for 30 sitcoms, right? And so it's how do you differentiate? What's the one that stands out? And as you look through it, you're like Selfie, social media. Everybody knows social media is good. Like you got to do the social. It's the that's my.
Those are the buzz. They want buzzwords.
This is my impression of every network exec.
That actually seems kind of accurate.
Right.
That's exactly how they sound.
That's exactly how it is. Yeah. You work for a TV.
That's how our executive.
But on that note, we're going to move along.
Josh comes in and be like, yeah. Okay. When it gets into the 50 percentile, you can give it a good shot. That there's some good nuggets in there. Okay, this one, not so good. Bad Judge. Yeah. We've seen the ads. This is Kate Walsh on NBC.
Kate Walsh. The pedigree behind this one is really solid. It's Adam McKay and Chris Henchy. Adam McKay of Anchorman fame. He's Will Ferrell's producing partner.
Yeah.
Chris Henchy, who helped start Funny or Die with Adam McKay. Chad Colton, who is a novelist. This seems like it should work. What you got here is this character, like only on TV would you end up with a character that's
she's a judge.
Let me read the description I wrote, because this is right from the synopsis.
Oh boy.
Tough and respected criminal court judge in Los Angeles who has an unorthodox style and a bit of a wild private life. that includes playing drums in her friend's rock band.
Ooh, edgy.
She has sex, like in her back off, like on her bench or whatever.
I mean, so this is the kind of character that I think would only exist on television and be able to keep their job. I mean, look, like if a judge was caught having sex in chambers.
No way.
Right?
Which happened, by the way, in Orange County. Like a little threesome.
Well, of course it did.
And he's still presiding over it.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then.
Yeah.
But this sounds like a character that you would only ever see on television. And
they're just saying it's not funny at all. Like, you have to be funny if you're going to have a ridiculous setting like that.
Right. You can get away with a lot if it's
premise.
Funny.
Right. Exactly. If it's funny, then okay.
27%.
Yeah. Not good for Kate Walsh.
I'm curious. What does Scorpion have?
Oh, Scorpion's really low. I don't remember.
Did we talk about that?
I like that show.
About that Kate McLean.
I like that show a lot.
Oh no.
Oh really? Oh, the critics hate that one.
See,
I watched a couple episodes of Scorpion last night with my buddy Matt, and it's okay-ish. I don't really like it. It's like, I mean, well, the pilot itself is like, I mean, it starts off really, really good, in my opinion, and then it's like near the end, it gets so far into these improbable, flatly impossible things that happen.
Right.
And it's like, I understand watching a show, you have to kind of have a suspension of belief, but you have a show about a bunch of geniuses, and you apparently expect me, the viewer, to be an idiot. Mm-hmm. That irritates me.
Yeah, I don't like those kinds of shows. Like, if you expect me to be an idiot, you have to be really funny. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to. Anyway, The Honorable Woman, that looks really good. Where is that? Do you know
That's on Sundance.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a miniseries.
See, that brings me to my constant question for Matt, which is, today, can network television really compete with what's out there on cable?
Quality-wise?
Streaming. Yeah.
Maybe. I think so.
Maybe.
I think so. Parks and Rec, I think, is fantastic. The last couple seasons.
Other than comedies, yeah. But even that's kind of tricky now, right?
I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think that a sitcom, I think, is really, like, that's going to be probably where your best material is being done, because it's a show that you can come in and out of. You don't have to watch every episode. You can just pick it up wherever. Right. I think that's going to do well. I think, your Law and Orders and your CSIs, if you like that type of police procedural, there's a rhythm to those shows that's very satisfying, and I think that the network model works for that. Right. But the stuff on cable, we're expecting. I mean, we've been talking about the Nick a bunch, right?
Right.
The Nick is basically a 10-hour movie.
This is
right?
with Clive Owen and you guys on Cinemax.
Right. The Nick is basically a 10-hour Steven Soderbergh movie. They shot that like a movie, and as much as they're giving us one episode at a time, that's what we can get on cable. It's a different business model. So part of the difference is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit before, on cable, there's less pressure for a broad, big audience, right? And the subscription cable, like HBO and Cinemax, is the extreme example. On a certain level, they're not really that concerned on what kind of ratings the Nick gets. No. They're more concerned about whether or not that's going to bring subscribers into the channel. There's less of that with AMC, but it's still a similar thing. Mm-hmm. But the budgets,
I'm sorry, I have to go. I'll be right back. Okay, finish your thought.
Okay.
And I'll be right back.
Well, you're the one that asked the question.
I know.
You got a weather hit coming up.
No, but I agree with you. It's like on cable, there's a lot less pressure. It's like, I mean, ratings become less of an issue, particularly for things like your Netflix originals. All they care about is subscribers, and Netflix, I think, has a huge advantage here when it comes to planning what shows they're going to do, because of how specifically they have genres on what people watch. It's like, I mean, when they do a show, it's not like they think their audience will like it. They know they will, because they have the metrics to back it up. So that's why they can afford to go and say, yeah, we're going to do this show. We're going to have the entire season. We're going to throw it out there. We're going to do this show. And they have the metrics behind them to support them doing that. And network TV doesn't have that.
Well, you have to think of it as the the profit per user, right, per watcher, per viewer,
Mm-hmm.
and the margins on that, right? So on a subscription model like HBO or Cinemax, the portion of money that they get per person, is ostensibly, a lot of assumptions in this, but assuming that, the vast majority of your watchers are subscribing to the channel, and yeah, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of who's watching it on HBO Go with pirate things, but
Yeah.
the amount of numbers to sustain that because of the, let's call it margins on a per viewer basis are astronomically higher than the margin would be on an ad model where you're selling display advertising against a show, right?
Uh-huh.
So to make similar money, to make similar profit margins for a network versus a subscription, the network has to cast such a wider net to get the ad rates to make that money. So that means to do that, your show has to be broader and easier, more accessible, right? And as great as The Nick is, that's obviously not a show that's for everybody. Same thing with Game of Thrones, same thing with Boardwalk Empire. Like, you look at the collected works on HBO, for instance, and those shows are all very much niche shows.
Mm-hmm.
So those shows would never survive on a network. So that's the big difference. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly my concern about genre television. Things like Constantine, for example. We have that coming up in a bit. Well, first off, the pilot sucked. I mean, let's just go ahead and get that out there. It sucked. It was really, really bad. But I mean, just that kind of TV in general is like on network television. It's like I don't know about it. I mean, Gotham I think is going to do pretty well because who doesn't know Batman and and isn't somewhat invested in that universe. But Constantine, come on, you couldn't really get more niche than that if you tried.
Well, yeah.
What about the pacing? Excuse me for interrupting. I just want to say something about the difference that you haven't mentioned yet, which is the pacing. Because I live in Europe, and when I go to the States and you start watching TV at somebody's place, even if it's relatively well-known series, you've got an ad every 8 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is what's great about Netflix and premium channels is that their story arc goes uninterrupted. So it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference.
Oh, especially, Randy, I'm glad you brought that up, especially because when you start watching shows, Downton Abbey is a good example. Like, if you watch Downton Abbey, or you watch a show that's been, some of the stuff that's on BBC America when that gets brought over from BBC. I always think of Top Gear as a good example of that, even. I watch a lot of Top Gear, and when they bring over Top Gear and put American-style commercial breaks on that, it's so weird. Like, they'll have what would normally be like just a camera cut, and they've stopped for a break, and you're like, oh, wait, what are you doing? It's just this weird, unnatural rhythm to it because of the requirements for commercial breaks. And, yeah, it's a much different thing, and I think that does affect the show because the stuff that gets shown on commercial TV, the writers write to those breaks. They're writing like act breaks, right? Whereas you watch something on a Cinemax or HBO, they don't need those breaks, so they can just go through, and so that way you get something like, in True Detective, you get these, the really super long tracking shot. Like, I don't think you could get away with that on a network because that would be your whole thing in between commercial breaks, and nobody would stand for that. So yeah, I think that does affect the shows creatively and what they're capable of doing storytelling-wise.
There's been a lot of shows that I've watched where at the end of a show there's been more like prescription medicine side effects than I can remember than actual plot notes in the show because of how many commercials there's been. It's just ridiculous.
You know what's really funny, Nick, is I'll be watching something and you start, especially like if I've taped something that's on late at night or if I'm watching during the day, like you start watching the ads that are playing and the stuff that they're pushing, and it's like, what do they think is wrong with me?
What's wrong?
They have to assume that stuff is wrong with everybody.
I guess so.
What are you talking about?
Oh, just talking about the different types of ads that get run on different TV shows.
Oh, here's what I wanted to ask you. Oh, I know they target whomever they think is watching. But did you hear about the movie that's debuting? That's opening. I think it's this weekend. I'm not sure, but at the same time, it's debuting on Netflix.
She's talking about the sequel for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Is that actually getting a theatrical release? I saw that.
That's
It's getting a limited theatrical release, and it's also releasing on Netflix at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the news that they haven't made it yet, though, right?
No.
Right.
When that does come out, that's the deal because of the thing that Netflix has with the Weinstein brothers.
Oh, okay. So it's not actually happening.
I haven't read that's not Ang Lee working on it though, right?
I don't think so.
I probably not, but it is that was a wildly successful theatrical release of Crouching Tiger. What's the correct way? I always mix them up. Yeah, I always say Crouching Tiger, Hidden.
Well, that's correct, so.
Dragon. So it's changing. I mean, it's really getting there, and it's sooner than later. I mean, it's happening. I still don't think that people will give up going to the movies altogether. I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, but it's interesting. Talk to Steve Mason about that because we'll sit and talk. Steve Mason, who comes in and does sports,
right.
He owns
a movie
theater
in Palm Springs.
In Palm Springs, and we'll talk about different movies that are coming out. And every time it's one of those movies that's a day and date release that is releasing in theaters and has less than a couple of weeks of time before it goes out on demand or at the same time.
Right.
He grumbles about them. He's like, "Yeah, I hate it when they do that."
Yeah,
because it means less box office for him.
It does. It kills the movie theater owners, but I think that movie theater owners have to adapt to that change and adapt. I think they're making smaller movie theaters as a result, and I think they're catering to a different kind of audience, which is, they're going for the comfort of going to a movie theater now. Like I went to an iPic movie this past weekend, and it's much smaller. You have the nice Barker lounges, but they're paying up the yin. You have to pay up the yin yang to go watch a movie. And I was a little appalled by that, actually. It's like $28 for a movie theater, or $27 for a ticket. And if you want them to serve you food and drinks, it's $50. And you recline and you get, dinner and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it's changing. Like there's a bunch of movie theaters by my house in Westwood, and they're always empty. There's 3, there's 2 right across the street, the Man and they're always empty.
Yeah.
It saddens me. So
it is sad. We're
as a movie lover and a movie goer lover.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to have to happen. It's like for movie theaters to survive, they're going to have to offer people an experience that they really, really can't get at home.
Right.
I mean, because as our TVs get bigger and we have our surround sound, I mean, unless you're doing it big, you got the IMAX and all that at the theaters. I mean, that I'll go out for. But it's like anything less than that. It's like, I mean, I can do that in my living room.
What about
my boxers?
What about that new theater that? I don't like it. It's the one that splits into 3. Have you seen that? It's the one at the Howard Hughes. I think they debuted it with the Maze Runner, where it's like you're sitting and then it's 3. It's like it's not a complete round, but it's on your left, your front, and your right. Have you heard about this movie theater?
What you mean, like auditorium style?
Huh?
You mean like the old curved auditorium?
It sounds like they're trying to recreate something like Cinerama, like an immersive experience, right?
Yeah.
Like there weren't a lot of movies shot in Cinerama because they'd have to you'd have to project 3 films, right? And so the Cinerama thing was you'd have this, the screen's not like that. Nobody makes them anymore, but the screen was this like
I preferred
180-degree screen,
like that,
or not 180, but it was this big long curved screen, and there was one camera shooting this way, or one projector projecting this way, and another one that way, and another one this way, and they'd cross over.
I wish I could find that one. It's a movie theater. It's I can't find it. Anyway, we did a story on it, and I can't remember now. I wasn't here that day, but anyway, it splits it up. And personally, I don't care for it. But anyway.
It does sound a bit weird.
Yeah, it just. I know,
well, and it's crazy. I mean, this will make us all cringe, but the theater owners talking about trying to figure out ways to, I wouldn't say encourage, but kind of capitalize on the usage of social media during the movie theater, like as younger
person.
generations are on their devices.
Oh God, no.
You know,
Yes, that's what they're doing.
What they want to do is do we, kind of partner with them and make that texting and
have a second screen
experience part of it. Do we engage with them on that level? Because, and honestly, like that's probably where they're going to go.
I think some theaters are going to go
Yeah.
that direction. Instead
instead
of that sign at the beginning or that ad where it says "Put away your phones," did you turn off your cell phones? The new commercial will be, "Hey, take out your cell phone, take it out. Let's put in this code, and you get blah blah blah, free popcorn or whatever."
I think there's a better version. I think there's a better version of that possible, where they could cache the movie locally and stream it. And by locally, I mean, so you've got this area that's in the same time zone, people of the same culture. You watch the movie together with the social media connection, but you're still watching it at home. This movie theater, physical movie theater thing, you guys see I'm not like 20 years old. I probably haven't been in a movie theater since any of you were born, literally. I'm out of there. I have no good reason to go to a movie theater because why do I want to stand in line to hear people talking on their cell phones?
Well, no, that's Randy. They've changed, like the landmark theaters. I love because what you do is you go online, you pick your seats, you get there literally 5 minutes before the movie starts, and it's a great experience. They have great seats, and it's like half traditional and half new.
Well, you want the perks, the physical. If you're going to go to a physical place, somebody just mentioned this a few minutes ago. You want to have the reclining, the comfort in the chairs. Maybe you can eat or have drinks. You used to be able to smoke. I don't smoke, but obviously that's another issue for people is that you can't smoke in the theater. But you've got to have some. I mean, hey, massage. I don't Thai food, whatever. There has to be. I'm sorry, but especially even if I'm not young, I don't think people who are coming up today are going to want to sit in those theaters other than as on a date or something. But I mean, other than that,
it's interesting. I think that I think you may see some theater owners trying to capitalize on something similar to a concert model where going to a movie is a shared experience. And it's, I remember I've gone and seen, I remember when Star Wars made it back in the theaters in the 90s, and that was like going to a concert, right? Mm-hmm. People were cheering when every character came on, and I think that similar to the way people go to concerts and are have their phones and are talking to each other and socializing.
That's good.
That could be a trend. I mean, if you look at something as bad as it is and as terrible as it is as an example of film, the latest Transformers movie lends itself to that kind of experience because if you miss 10 minutes of the movie or you're not really following it, who cares, right? And I know
there's a story.
On that, but the business may lend itself to that because if you're putting something that is this experiential piece of material because you want groups to go together, that may end up where we end. I mean, that may be where we end up. And traditional film, like you go and you pay attention, that may be more and more, like theater. That may be more of a, like plays. That may be more of a niche market. Whereas you may end up something closer to concerts, where, the intellectual investment is lower, but you can get more people together. So
that's why they're turning, like where the big movie theater is, they're turning it into sixplexes and eightplexes.
And the other thing too is those types of movies lend themselves better to international because again, like they're easier to translate. So we could, I hope it doesn't happen this way, but we could end up where in 20 years we don't recognize the movies because of how dumb they are. There are people who would argue that about films from the 40s versus films now. If you look at films from the 40s, 30s and 40s, like there's a lot of really sharp. I mean, you look at something like, a great example is of whenever somebody talks about snappy dialogue, they bring up His Girl Friday. The dialogue in that movie is so fast and so sharp that I think if you were to show that to an audience now, like some people might have trouble following that. I don't know. I think you have, it'll be interesting to see where we go. We could end up with movies that, like TV, are broader and appeal to larger audiences. And it's more of a shared experience, and it's less about like a one-on-one storytelling experience.
Right.
That would be very sad.
Well, I mean, it would just be altered. It just wouldn't be it's just modified.
But sorry, I missed the beginning. So are you saying that it's just going to be pushed in the TV area, or maybe another way of looking at it, TV is putting a lot more money per episode? I mean, Netflix and the other stuff, they are pretty good.
Tim, we were talking about just kind of the future of the movie-going experience, and that's going to parse out to what kinds of movies get made. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, in the short term, over the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of, whatever big movie is a hit, you're going to see every other studio try and do that a million times, right? Everybody's right now going to be looking for the next Hunger Games.
They're going to be doing the Equalizer 2 and 3 because it was a hit. It really was a hit, and I saw it over the weekend.
There's 2 more Avatar movies coming because Avatar was this monster hit.
Of course.
In 10 years, somebody else will come out with something that breaks all the box. We're in the middle of this thing where Marvel can do whatever they want, right?
Unfortunately.
SNL kind of did a spin on that. But,
they can do every origin story of every Marvel character.
Right. And we're in this mode where for the next 15, 20 years we're going to get a lot more comic book movies. At some point somebody will come up with some new thing. I mean, this is unlikely to happen, but if you were to see somebody like a James Cameron or somebody come along and make some Western that opens up to $100 million, then everybody suddenly is going to make Westerns again. That's not going to happen, but...
That would actually
Aren't they making sequels to Avatar? I mean, standards are getting low.
Well, Avatar is like, from my understanding, that was always planned as a trilogy. That was kind of the goal. I remember that when the first one came out, it was always going to be a trilogy.
Well, and if it had bombed,
yeah, that would do more happen. But I think he did plan for that.
The first one didn't suck.
Right? Where's the rest of his Dark Materials movies? The Golden Compass sequels.
Is it a movie theater experience kind of thing? Like people don't want to spend, like home theater is pretty good already. So if it's not worth the money and effort or the time, why go to the theater? Right? I mean, you can rent the Blu-ray and watch it in the
TVs are massive. Theater. I mean, why? Everyone can have the whole family over and have an incredible film and pay all that. So
that's exactly what we were discussing about 10 minutes ago.
But you know what? The popcorn just doesn't taste the same. It doesn't taste the same at home.
You gotta get one of those big carts, the big popper.
Right, I have to get one of those.
You don't microwave. You gotta do like the air
No,
popper.
I know. I've got to do the air popper. But even those are.
And then let it sit in a bag.
Yeah, because they don't have quite the same preservatives as the ones they do at the movie.
Yeah, or the amount of time of butter.
Yeah.
Butter, quote unquote, on it.
Okay, you guys.
MSG to it.
Favorite petroleum.
Oh,
It's all healthy at home. Darn. That's all I have time for. Matt Atchity for a special appearance here.
I'll be back on Friday, but you won't be.
I won't be here. I'm sorry on Friday. It's just it's easier to take a Friday off these days. But maybe I should.
Hey, fair enough.
Day off. Monday's off. But I will not be here this Friday. But I'm so glad that Matt did come in because I was worried. I was like, oh no, we're not gonna have Hangout on Friday again. But is there another TV fall lineup hangout next week?
Well, I'm in New York next week.
Okay, so you're not gonna be here next week.
So
okay,
no.
All right.
Sadly.
Anyway, thank you.
I can't wait until October when we do this. It's like I really want to start talking about Arrow and Flash and whatnot.
Oh,
yeah, I'll talk to Stormy. Maybe we can come in and do the CW show. So.
Sure.
Right.
Or I mean, look, like we can always bring him up on Friday. I know that might be tough for Deano to do, but.
We can always bring.
Oh no, that can happen. It's like I have to kind of ramp myself up to this whole getting up early thing again.
It's wild. Thank you, YouTubers, for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We have all kinds of stuff that we do here on our channel, not just our hangouts with Matt, but celebrity hangouts, and we do with our Tech Ninja. Shaka does a lot of his tech and stuff like that. So keep it tuned here to My Fox LA. We'll see you soon, you guys. Bye.
Bye, YouTubers.
Bye, YouTubers. Holla.
Bye, YouTubers.